Is 6:44. Welcome back to Great Day for this Wednesday. It's the 16th of July, and this time every week, Molly Nelson in for Jackie. We have a chance to talk to our favorite gardener of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who's here. It is Chuck Rennis from Rennis Greenhouse. Great day to grow it, and you can ask him anything when it comes to vegetables and gardens and things like this. This guy has all the answers. I know you are big into growing tomatoes.
I do. I've got quite the garden. My son and I are working on it, and this cold weather, what's it going to do to my tomatoes, Chuck? Chuck,
Well,
tell me they're going to be big, red, juicy tomatoes.
They're going to be big and red, but not anytime soon, as long as it stays cold.
This is stalling things.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice this year with the weather that we've had, before I told you the stories about the gigantic tomato plants I had with like one tomato. Now they're kind of squat. They're not very tall, but I see a bunch of little tomatoes on them.
Yep. And that's just a nitrogen thing. And you know, it's funny. Yesterday or the day before, a guy was in because he had heard me on talk about fertilizing tomatoes, and he was in and he said he had tomatoes that were 6 foot tall and this big, but didn't have any tomatoes on them. And I said, well, you're fertilizing them too much. He said he had never put an ounce of fertilizer on them. And well, I had never heard of that, but as we got to talking, he had got a new load of compost from the city, and he just didn't mix any dirt or anything with it. He just planted it right in that compost. So I'm assuming that compost is just really high in nitrogen and stuff.
Oh,
so
that's what happened.
You get the big green plant with
No, they look impressive, but they don't bear any fruit.
Right. And you know, that's the same way as, you know, I work with Ray and stuff. Well, his tomatoes get maybe 4 foot tall, and they're just in a cage like that. I mean, they're not giant plants, but there's a gazillion tomatoes down inside there. And you know, he don't water. I mean, they're planted out in the field, and if they get rained on, they get watered, and if they don't, they just do the best they can.
Wait till the next time it rains.
That's right. But yeah, fertilizer's not that great on them. But
okay, another question we have. I did notice with the weather we're having, it's damp, it's cooler, it's damp, and the weeds are going crazy this year. Do I need to go through and weed everything out, or just let the little bit of weed action go? Because it looks like a blanket of weeds, but all the other plants are growing nice around them.
Right. Well, the thing with weeds is the worst part about the weeds is if it gets dry and you have weeds, the weeds will take the water away from the vegetable plants.
Okay.
So if you don't have any weeds in there, you know, when I was a kid and we had a garden and my dad watered it all the time, he just mowed. It just looked like everything was green out there. He just mowed between the tomato plants, but he watered. But if it quits raining, which I think it's going to do one of these days, I'm guessing, and get hot. All those weeds and the vegetables are going to be after that same moisture.
For the same water.
For the same water. And the weeds will get the water before the vegetables will. So that's the problem with the weeds.
Okay, get them out of there.
Yeah, so it's always best to pull them or hoe them or what have you. But,
now, do they have hose are still around? Because I went looking for them, and I couldn't find them right offhand.
Yeah, you just got to look.
Okay.
Yep.
Just keep searching.
Speaking of tomatoes, I shouldn't do this, but I plant them in the same place every year.
Right.
Every year, things start eating them, you know, as they start to develop. I have found I'd love to not use chemicals. I'd love to use organic chemicals, but they don't seem to work. And the only thing that seems to work is a true pesticide to get rid of them.
Right. And you know, that's the problem. You know, everybody is into organic and stuff, and I mean, you know, no sprays and everything, and all that's a great idea, but a lot of that stuff just doesn't work. You know, it's you know, people want sweet corn that's never been sprayed. Well, if you don't spray sweet corn a time or two, you're going to have a worm in every ear.
Right.
And so, you know, those are your options. You can have a little extra meat in the sweet corn, or you can have no worms in it. That's
so if you're a vegetarian, you want it sprayed.
Yeah, so you need it to be sprayed, and that's just how it is. And it's the same way. A lot of that organic stuff is just, you know, it's all a good idea and stuff, but some of it just doesn't work that well. One of the things we use at the greenhouse, and I should bring pictures in to show you guys, but sometimes you'll have a problem with aphids on mums.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And you know,
little tiny white things.
Just little tiny green white things. And so if you've got 10,000 mums sitting out there and got aphids on them, you know, that's kind of an issue.
Sure.
But you can buy ladybugs, and you buy ladybugs by the quart. You just take them out there, you open them up, the ladybugs eat the aphids, and
Everybody's
That's as
happy.
natural as it gets.
Yeah, right, and that is as natural as it gets. And I mean, if you don't buy ladybug, I mean, if you have ladybugs, then you're going to have a few aphids here and there. But if you don't see any ladybugs, your crop is clean because the ladybugs won't be there if
They
there's
won't be
nothing
there.
to
There's
eat.
nothing to eat.
Right, there's
Yeah.
no food source,
Okay.
and they're just there to. What kind of critters? I mean, you said you had.
I end up with a few beetle-looking things, but what always seems to go after the tomatoes are those big, disgusting, bright green
Those great big giant things.
worms.
Yes. Yes.
Caterpillars or
Yes.
worms. Yeah,
And those make a mess when you step on them.
they do, but they're really cool if you throw them against a fence.
Yeah. Those are big, and I really don't know where those things come from, but they just appear, and boy, they can eat.
Oh, yeah.
They can eat and eat and eat.
Yeah, and the only thing that stops them is a real true pesticide.
Yep.
I found.
Yep, just
sometimes
real
you have
Speaking
to
about
do it.
eating, other bigger animals have a tendency to eat your vegetables too.
Yes, and that's why I brought a couple things in. It seems like this time of year, for whatever reason, people start having more problems with rabbits and deer. And we sell the liquid fence products. This deer and rabbit repellent, it is organic,
Okay.
and it is. You can use this on vegetables right up till the time you pick them. We use this at Adventureland a lot because the rabbits out there are just terrible. But it's one product that really works. You read the directions, and people say, well, we don't want to use it because you got to spray it every time it rains. But once if you use this properly, once you train those animals where this stuff's at, they don't come back.
They're not coming back.
And that's the idea of this. This is it's a good spray. It works well. Don't open it up in the house and dink around with it because it stinks like
It does.
It does stink terrible.
Yeah.
But once it dries, the smell's gone.
Okay.
And we sneak out of Adventureland every once in a while at 9 o'clock when the park's about to close and spray it around, and it really does a nice job.
Okay.
Chuck
But,
takes care of all the plants at Adventureland
Oh,
too.
neat.
Yeah,
But anyway, the deer and rabbit repellent, we have that. That works good. Dog and cat, that's not really, we sell some of it, but that's not a big deal. This is another really good thing to sprinkle around in your yard, and it's more of a granular stuff.
Huh.
But this works well on mosquitoes and things.
Oh, really?
And it'll last up to a week. You'll just take this out and sprinkle it around, and it kind of deters the mosquitoes and flies and things like that. So
Do you need water, standing water for this, or just put it on the ground?
this is just organic stuff. Just sprinkle it around the grass, around your gazebo or
Really?
your tents or whatever you have out there, and that works really well.
Never heard of that.
I haven't either.
That's a product that's been
Yard
around for a
net.
few years.
Granular, okay.
And
Flies seem to be bad this year too.
Yeah,
Bite-
Yes.
biting
biters.
flies.
Biters.
Biting
in my
flies.
house.
Yeah.
Big ones too.
And the other thing, and some people have a problem with this, some people don't, but this is an excellent product for
Now, if you
geese.
don't have any geese around where you live, you don't know the destruction they can do to your sidewalks and your lawn.
To everything.
And we're not talking about digging it up. We're talking about leaving
Items.
remnants.
Yes, there's always evidence of them, and the problem out at Adventureland is the geese are nice, and everybody likes the geese. Well, so the park's open, and everybody's got popcorn. Well, they're feeding the geese. It's great, it looks good and stuff, but they're just a mess.
What goes
They're
in must come
everywhere.
out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember that. Okay.
Yes, and they're just everywhere out there. So this is a good product for repelling geese, if you would have that problem. But again, the liquid fence for the rabbits and deer, this is an excellent product that works very well. You can spray it right on the plant. It does a nice job taking care
I've
of
used
those.
it, and it works. Yeah, it keeps the bunnies away.
It's good stuff.
Because the beagle isn't doing his job, so then
It's
you got
good
to
stuff. Yeah,
All right,
so there you go.
Before we let you go, Chuck, what should people be planting about this time of year? Is there anything that's good to plant this time of year?
Well, we've got a little bit of stuff out at the greenhouse. We've got some nice container gardens and things if some of your plants are not doing so well. This has been a tough year on things. I mean, it's been so wet, it's cool, it's hot, it's just been a tough year. But for us, really, we're gearing up now for fall. We started planting poinsettias. The poinsettias are in the greenhouse now, the first bunch. So we're kind of going in a different direction. But we've got 10,000 mums out there that are looking good, that we're taking good care of, and they're starting to put some buds on, and things are coming along nicely.
Yeah, Chuck taught us about poinsettias. Did you realize the poinsettias that you see the holiday times all come from cuttings?
No.
Yep, they're just a little cutting.
Little sprig.
Just a little sprig that we get and put a root on them, and now they're ready to start going into pots and everything. I was telling these guys, poinsettias originally, 50 years ago, was a cut flower. You actually gave
like roses or something.
Just like
Sure.
roses, you would
Okay.
get long stem. Long stem poinsettias. You'd get a dozen of them and take them home, and put them in water, and that's how poinsettias started. Yeah.
Right.
All right,
Yep,
so very cool.
absolutely.
So we're keeping an eye on the
Absolutely.
ones you brought in here and see how they're doing.
Yep, and I will next week. I'm going to bring a few more in because we're going to start putting them in dirt now.
Okay.
They've got roots on, so we'll start putting
Go
them in
through the
dirt and
process.
kind of go through the process and get that started.
All
Yep,
right, perfect.
absolutely.
All right, man. Good job again,
Okay.
as always.
Thank you, guys.
There it
Thanks,
is,
Chuck.
Rennis Greenhouse over in Johnson. Easy to get to and well worth just going a little bit out of your way to see this smiling face.
Always there.